What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to the AST Happy Hour. I'm Noah Strackbine, joined always by my main man, Jacob Unturi. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talkers. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers had their first Tomlin Tuesday of the season today. I am thrilled to be officially, as the kids say it, back. And we're diving into our reactions, the release of Robert Woods from the practice squad, which, I think sparks a little bit of conversation here. And then it's Tuesday. It's the season. And there is no better time to bring back and start once again Overreaction Tuesday. I'm thrilled for it. It's a beautiful one here in the Berg. How you feeling, my friend?
I'm good. I am feeling like I am loving these happy hours, to be quite honest. And I think they are the start of something quite great. So happy to be hanging out here in the afternoon with all of the picnic pack with you, Noah. So yeah, man, I'm good. Are you sipping on anything super fun today?
Today we went a little vanilla honey oat latte, and my boy's got a little Diet C over there, a little DC.
Yeah, you know it, though.
In the gullet. Love it so much. Hope you guys are sipping on a little Vodka Sonics, a little whatever you got. It's a Tuesday. Whatever you're feeling. Let's talk some Pittsburgh Steelers here. And before we start, I want to give a quick reminder. If you're a member, if you're a super chatter, toss your questions in the chat. We're going to get to all of them before we head out of here. We'll talk for a little bit, then we'll start answering you guys. So make sure you do. Shout out to all of our members. Shout out to all of our super chatters. Let's talk some Pittsburgh Steelers football. Robert Woods, gone. Means nothing. Let's start with that one. Did not expect him to be on the roster at all this season. But there's got to be a reason behind it. Do you expect this move to be more of a, hey, we're going to be real nice to you and just kind of, let you go on your way to find a new home? Or do you think that the Steelers are looking to, maybe replace a little somebody with a little somebody else with the release of their older wide receiver on the practice squad?
I get the sense that this might have been, hey, I think I can probably lock on with an active roster, a 53-man roster somewhere else. Would you mind hooking a friend up and just letting me out of the practice squad here? That's my guess. But yeah, beyond that, it was nice to have a nice Super Bowl winner, respected veteran around for training camp in the preseason, but was not a solution in any realistic way for the Steelers. So nothing to lose sleep over as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, I think this is probably a friendly move by the organization to allow him another, a chance to sign somewhere else and maybe get another opportunity. Do you feel differently?
Yeah, nope. I think it's exactly it. I think the Steelers had conversations with Robert Woods before the season started to say, look, we're not going to bring you up until at least week 3, because then all of your vetted guaranteed money goes away. Then we pay you week by week. For those of you who do not know how the NFL contracts work, once you're vetted or an NFL vet, you're vetted, which means that you get more bonuses and more guarantees than anybody else just because you've been in the league for as long as you have. Robert Woods fell under that umbrella. If you go past week 2 and then bring them on, it doesn't count. You're able to pay them week by week. You don't have to worry about release bonuses, so on and so forth. I think that they were waiting till week 3. Robert Woods probably said, can I get a better opportunity? And the Steelers probably on the other side said, you know what, there's like a 50% chance we're going to bring you up, and that's it. And then he's going to go somewhere else. And I would not be surprised if Robert Woods is on a roster in the next 24 to 48 hours where he joins somebody new and is on an active roster instead of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Not the biggest news, but still newsworthy news. Let's talk Mike Tomlin. What was your big takeaway from the first Tomlin Tuesday of the season? Which I woke up this morning. There are certain days, okay, where you wake up, you got a smile on your face, you're pretty excited, you're pretty jazzed up to just get out of bed. Today was one of those days. I got out of bed. I went on my morning 6 a.m. walk with the deer. I was out there, said hello to the bucks walking around, saw a fox. It was pretty cool. And then came home and I didn't, some days I'd crawl back into bed with my wife just because it's 6:50 or 6:45 in the morning. And I'm like, let's, get a couple extra minutes of sleep here. Today I was like, dude, I'm making coffee. I'm sitting outside. I'm talking to the birds. It's Tomlin Tuesday, man. We're back. Your big takeaway from today. I mean, the beginning of what is the season. I think today is the start of the real season, and I think we have actual things to talk about. So what was your big one?
I think the big thing is the new Tomlinism, but this is coupled in with a very real observation as well. Or maybe it's not new, but it's newer to me at least. This you can either hide under your desk or you can be confident. I found to be hilarious. The real observation underneath that is that was said in response to a question about how can you feel confident about the offense going in when they've had all of no reps in preseason in a real competitive situation. And it is one very much a statement to the unflappable confidence that head coach Mike Tomlin possesses and contains. It is what sort of separates him
Yeah.
from really so many other NFL coaches. It is why so many players, especially this offseason and this summer, were so attracted to Pittsburgh as a destination. It's because of Mike Tomlin's ability to command the room, and
Yes.
yet he was able to he's able to bust out a classic Tomlinism, and he's able to very much show off that he is confident in the Pittsburgh Steelers offense without having any sort of the proof is not in the pudding, so to speak, yet. It is very much hypothetical going into week 1 against the New York Jets. So to hear Tomlin start off the year with such confidence, with such a bold statement, and not backing down, unwavering in that regard, I found that to be my biggest takeaway. Now the offense certainly has to live up to it, and I don't know if I share that confidence that they can right out of the gate, but Tomlin certainly thinks so, or he wants the New York Jets to think so. So that was my big takeaway. Curious what yours was, and if it was different.
No, I love that. I love that. We'll see if the Jets believe it. I think that's the biggest thing. I agree with you. I think the Steelers have unwavering confidence. I like that Tomlin followed it up by saying, something along the lines of, this time of the year, it's all speculation. You're all guessing. You really don't have the 100% that anybody has, and you're going into the league or this season just trying to figure it out. The Steelers are a team that are trying to figure out a lot in almost no time. What does the wide receiver position look like? What does Cam Hayward look like? What does Jack Sawyer look like? Which I think is a very underrated part of what Tomlin talked about today, was that Nick Herbig is questionable, and if he can't go, is Jack Sawyer enough to be the third in week 1? Like, it's a lot of, we're going to see what happens. We're walking into a live grenade, and we're going to hope we could just what is the word? What am I looking for? How do you turn it off? It starts with a D.
Disarm?
Yeah, sure. Let's rock with it. I lost it. It was in there until I started talking, and then it disappeared. But that's what Tomlin is essentially saying, is you're walking into this and you're going to figure it out on the fly. And I think the Steelers have a lot of questions about what they have to figure out on the fly in week 1. And I have some confidence in the wide receiver core. Don't have a ton in it. And I'm open to seeing what they bring, but I also fully acknowledge that they don't have the names that I thought they were going to have, that I think the Steelers thought they were going to have by this point in the season. My big one is Cam Hayward saying, I have no qualms, no worries that Cam's not going to be out there. I also feel Cam's 100% going to be out there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why Cam is leaving us hanging on him not being out there. Like, oh, we'll see what's going on. Come on, you're going to be out there. You're going to be out there. Everybody knows you're going to be out there. Mike Tomlin knows you're going to be out there. There are no questions about it. It's more so, what does it bring? Does Cam go out there and ball out, and then you have to actually have a conversation of like, okay, look, we told this guy, no, screw off, be as dramatic as you want. We're not paying you. Mm-hmm. If he goes out there and has a TJ Watt performance, which Tomlin put on the table there, does he go out in week 2 and get a paycheck? Do they hand him more money? Because I think at that point, it's like, look, dude, I showed out. I promised you guys this, and I came through with it. Cam Hayward playing, most definitely playing, and in Tomlin's eyes, having no questions to it is the big one for me, but more so what comes with it, because if he looks really good, I think it backs the Steelers into a place where you're like, all right, now you guys kind of look like jerks. Maybe just hand him a couple of bucks. You have a lot of money. Maybe we just figure this thing out. But that was my big takeaway from Tomlin.
Yeah, I mean, I want to just kind of dwell on the last part of it.
Thank you.
Diffuse.
That was the one
Thank
right there.
you.
Thank you.
Blessed
Thank you.
light. That is, you have blessed us with some light in terms of vocabulary in this moment. Thank you. Very much appreciate that. I want to just dwell on like the last part of your comment there. Like, there is something. It did not diffuse the situation at all, and
No.
I just I just don't understand at this point how it could help at all. And
Yeah.
I just wonder, like, logistically, and maybe you have some insight into this, like, can the Steelers, who, you know, right now kind of have the good PR as far as the Cam Hayward situation is concerned. Like, I think when it was first brought up, you know, you and I talked about how, you know, how do we feel about this? Were the Steelers in the wrong to sort of not go back to the negotiating table after Cam Hayward had a strong 2024 season, even though they had mentioned it? You know, was Cam Hayward in the wrong for bringing it back up again, even though he signed his contract, yada, yada, yada. Like, you can go back and forth on this, but after he had voiced the complaint, gone through the last parts of training camp in the preseason, and now we're a couple of days away, I feel like the PR sort of battle here has swung heavily in the Steelers' favor.
Yes.
But if we get into week one and we have 36-year-old Cam Hayward, who voiced his contractual issues, goes out there, balls out, and then all of a sudden the Steelers are just refusing to come back to the table at all, and he still voices that we'll see sort of comments, the pendulum might start swinging back towards, you know, Cam Hayward. And, you know, I think the Steelers have to be very careful on how they navigate this little tightrope they're in. But all that to say, he's going to play, and I don't understand why there's any sort of need to dance around it with the words he said in his podcast. And, you know, the difference that Mike Tomlin said in his press conference is just night and day different. So I don't, you know, why? I don't get it.
No, exactly. Why? It's put your words on the field. You know what I mean? You play really well. There's nothing to talk about anymore. You know what I mean? That's just like you said, it swings back in his direction, but he's got to play well. It swings back in his direction. He just says, look, did I earn it now? Boom. You got everybody going, you did, brother. You did that. Right now you're going, dude, stop. Just stop. The way you went out about this is you have no support from the fans. You're not going to get it. Stop being dramatic. Just go out there and play, and we'll see what happens. But I don't know. For right now, that was my big takeaway is nobody worry about Cam, because we're going to be fine, and he's going to play on Saturday or Sunday. Wow. College football, baby. We're back. Shout out to Bill Belichick. Oh, did you see the balloons, dude? Did you see the balloons in his, what are we doing, dude? How did we get there? Who let the balloons sit there? Who was like, we just lost by 35. Keep the balloons. Let him go. Bert would have lost his mind.
I don't understand that. How is there not one like freshman and intern in the you know what I mean? Like, they're like, go take the balloons down. Take the balloons down. They had a lot of time to have done this. It takes all of 7 minutes to pop 100 balloons. You know, let's test the theory and find out. But could have just grabbed that whole big old thing, ran it out of the room. But no, they just let.
I know the Steelers PR,
I think it might have been.
They would have lost it. They would have taken the balloons out during the conference. They would have been like, get him out of there. He looks terrible. Get him out of the room. Awful. Shout out to Bill.
Do you think like the dean's like kid made the balloons and that's why they had to keep them up? Like, that's the only reason why, because there's no one with any good sense would have kept them up. But they're like, oh, you know what?
I'm not gonna.
Bill's grandkid made this. So
I can make a joke. I can make a joke. I'm not going to make a joke about kids leaving them there and who did it. I'm just going to, everybody knows where I'm going with this, and we just interpret it as you will. Shout out to Billy, bro. It was good to see him. He's going to come back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
UNC's roster doesn't look good. It's going to come. It's going to come. Yeah. Let it rock. All right. It's Overreaction Tuesday. Let's get into it.
It's a fine line between, you know, drinking wine and squashing grapes, as we say in this business. And sometimes it's very subtle.
All right, I got a 4-pack for you on this beautiful Tuesday. I'm excited for them. Let's talk Pittsburgh Steelers defense to kick this bad boy off. Everybody's talking Their Jalen Ramsey, Joey Porter Jr., Darius Slay, big three, how dominant the secondary is, how ridiculous they've looked all summer. I'm excited for them. Mike Tomlin's excited for them. You're excited for them. Everybody's excited for them. All right, well, here's an overreaction. The Pittsburgh Steelers are taking on a Breece Hall, a Justin Fields that Mike Tomlin has made very known only runs the football. I don't know if anybody caught that in his press conference, but he didn't want to talk about how Justin Fields throws the football. All he wanted to talk about was how he runs the football. And a Braylon Allen that I'm not as high on as everybody else seems to be, but they do have a pretty good passing game. Okay, overreaction here. The Pittsburgh Steelers defense is actually so directed in the other way right now that we are ignoring it. And at the end of this one, maybe it's a blowout and the Steelers win big. Maybe they do. But statistically speaking, this is what happens. The Pittsburgh Steelers, overreaction or not, are going to give up more receiving yards than rushing yards in this game because they're going to be so headstrong to shut down Justin Fields and company that they are going to ignore the fact that Garrett Wilson is a stud and he can actually catch the football.
Overreaction, because I think there is just, you cannot, I'll say it meanly and maybe you can help me say it better. You can't dismiss the passing game of Justin Fields enough. The problem the Steelers must solve, the puzzle they must put together, is containing Justin Fields and Breece Hall. That's really it. I think Mike Tomlin made it very clear how he described him as being, quote, stronger than most mobile quarterbacks.
Yes.
And not easy to bring down, and that's what makes him so special that's what makes him unique as a mobile quarterback or something like that. I think they're preparing for it, but I do think the Steelers are somewhat susceptible to quick running quarterbacks. And, I think it's been sort of an Achilles heel over the sort of course of Mike Tomlin's career and watching the Steelers defense. So I think the rushing yards is going to far outpace the receiving yards given up. And I think it's just going to be, while I think there is some vocal emphasis on shutting down Justin Fields, I would imagine the game plan has to revolve around keeping Hall off the score sheet, keeping him minimized. And I think that does allow Justin Fields to get up the field a little bit more than maybe they would like to. So I do fear the rushing attack, quote unquote, of a very unimposing New York Jets offense more than the passing game, even with the emphasis on the rushing attack there already.
I used to go up, and I've told this story 40 times. I'll tell it 41 here. I was actually, I forgot. What reminded me is the fact that it was really like 10 times, but my calculations are always way higher than anybody else's. I was watching a podcast the other day, and the person used like 4 billion as a counter when the real number was like 6. And I was like, are you watching all Steelers talk? Are you a fan of me? What is going on here? This woman has like 3 million followers on YouTube, and she's way more famous than we would ever believe to be. But I'm pretty sure she's a fan because we use the same calculation. We use the same counting system here.
Exactly.
If it's higher than 6, it's 1 million. So I was shout out, Mike Hilton used to tell me all the time. I used to go to his locker every Friday. Hey, how you guys going to shut down so-and-so? We're going to stop the run. Okay. You're playing Tom Brady. What are you we're going to stop the run. Okay. Sounds good. Mike T emphasizes stopping the run. I hear where you're coming from. I think I believe you, but hey, it's Overreaction Tuesday, and I'm excited for it. I got a second one here. We talked Cam Hayward. That's how we started the show. That was my takeaway from Tomlin Tuesday. We could talk all day, and your expectations, my expectations, it doesn't matter. Cam Hayward is being a little bit dramatic in this situation. I do not agree with the way he's gone about it, but he continues to go about it. He's head down, and he's sticking to his guns. That's what he's doing, and he has not pulled back. And you have used the term heel to describe him, to say he has kind of turned villain in this situation. Well, that villain could continue, and he wants his money, man, and he does not care what's going to happen. He'll let them struggle to say, I want my money. Overreaction or not, Cam Hayward's not going to show up on Sunday. Cam Hayward's going to walk in the building and say, I'm not playing, dude. You didn't pay me. I don't care what Mike Tomlin says. I'm here to say my foot's down. Give me money, or I am not playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2025. Cam Hayward doesn't play on Sunday against the Jets.
I can't I can't see it any other way than an overreaction, and I hate to call it that already, but I just think, like, I'm trying to put myself into Cam Hayward's shoes, put myself into his mind. I think it would be
He wants
to
money.
his benefit if he wants his money and he is very serious about doing this. Like, he should put some actual doubt into whether or not he will play this upcoming Sunday. It hasn't happened. Him saying, quote, "we'll see," while also practicing is not, sending that message. It's not necessarily at all lending any weight to the phrase "we'll see." It actually, well, we did see, and it looks like you're playing. So I don't really know how else to describe that. So I think it's an overreaction right now. I think he's gonna play, but I think if he is for real and he is really serious about, you know, making this the move to get more money, he needs to turn heel a little bit more, and he needs to be like, maybe he's late,
That's what I'm
or
saying.
maybe, you know what I mean? Like, there needs to be some more seeds to really turn heel for the audience to believe it. Otherwise, we can't buy in.
James Harrison just said on his podcast this morning, Mike T, I showed up, there was no jersey. I said, I'm out. I'm leaving. Cam's gonna show up and say, there's no briefcase of money here. What are we doing? What are we? I was expecting $13 million in hundreds. There wasn't anything in this locker. I'm out. I'm telling you. We'll see what happens. Third one here for you. We've talked a lot of Aaron Rodgers, but we haven't seen Aaron Rodgers on the field, and I don't know what to make of the offense. Mike Tomlin's excited for it. He says everything's fine. They missed out on Gabe Davis. They've missed out on Terry McLaurin. They've missed out on everybody. The offense is what it is, and Aaron Rodgers is here, and everybody expects him to be good. But, I mean, everybody expected Russell Wilson to be good. People thought Justin Fields was good. Kenny Pickett was supposed to be good. I mean, that dude was between the leg and slam dunking with George Pickens, and then, well, he stunk. That's where we're at. Overreaction or not, Aaron Rodgers is going to be the worst quarterback in the AFC North behind Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, and 37-year-old Joe Flacco.
No, Noah, come on. It is another overreaction. I get it. I understand the question can be asked.
Not good.
I know, and I know you did not come into this with the intention of being inflammatory, right? I know you're not trying to be.
I did. That was fully my intention.
Maybe I threw some water on the fire pretty quickly on that one. I have a really hard time seeing Joe Flacco outplaying Aaron Rodgers for an entire 17-game season, even with having a 4-year youth advantage over Aaron Rodgers. I just can't see it. And I think Aaron Rodgers easily will have the third best year in the AFC North. I think there is a question to whether or not he can challenge for like the second spot.
Who's he beating?
I think if anyone's going to be Joe Burrow, because the Cincinnati Bengals feel like they are teeter-tottering on the edge of being a bad team, to put it bluntly.
Yeah, for sure.
And so if that could lead to just like poor offensive statistics and production from Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, I don't think that's going to happen. If I had to like bet between he and Aaron Rodgers, like 1 for 1, I'm probably taking Joe Burrow's production this year. But I think there's a question that can be asked with some real legitimacy, albeit we have not really seen this offense. You have to also put that caveat in there and make that crystal clear with a very large asterisk as well. But, I don't think he's going to be the worst AFC North quarterback at all. So unfortunately, Noah, that is a third overreaction from you, my friend.
I'm not loving this. At all. I get it. They're negative Nancy's here, but that's what we haven't seen anything. I can't go positive in a positive way yet because Mike Tomlin took all the positivity off of me this morning when he was like, everything's going to be fine, dude. The world's a beautiful place. All right, Mike. All right. I feel you. But, I got a last one. Go
hide under your desk.
Go hide under your desk, Mike. Go hide under your desk. Here's the last one here for you. The Pittsburgh Steelers did not get Gabe Davis. They did not get Terry McLaurin. They did not get Chris Olave. They did not get Odell Beckham Jr. They did not get Jacoby Myers. They did not get, who else was out there? Amari Cooper. They got Jonnu Smith, a Roman Wilson, Calvin Austin, who hasn't practiced since like last month, and DK Metcalf as their wide receiver 2s. Scotty Miller supposed to come in here and do some big stuff. All right. Overreaction or not, I'll end it on the same negativity I started this bad boy with, because I'm in a fiery mood right now. I think it's the caffeine. The Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver core, we're going to find out on Sunday. They somehow got worse. They're not better. They somehow got worse. And George Pickens being gone is the mistake that we thought about all summer, that I have told everybody, relax. They did it for a reason and defended it. Well, I'll pull back on all of it. Overreaction or not, the Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver core is going to be worse than we anticipated.
That is not an overreaction.
Let's go. I got one.
I got one. I think it's unlikely still, but man, I think there is a possibility that this could be a lot of, hope invested in a wide receiver core that has no return on that investment. And I think there is certainly a possibility that Roman Wilson and Calvin Austin are not quite ready to be legitimate producers on an offense that is Super Bowl worthy or playoff worthy. There's no tangible reasons to actually believe that other than Mike Tomlin's confidence in them. I think it's very possible that we are talking about in a couple of weeks, 2025 receiving core. I'd rather have the 24 one. And that's not a compliment to the 24 one. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I think at least of the 4 overreaction scenarios we've ran through here on this happy hour, that one has the most, the highest chance of actually coming to pass. It might be small. It's a 4 out of 10. To put it lightly, but like it's not, it's not super likely.
It's a 4 out of 10. It's a 4 out of 10.
But it could happen. Yeah.
I think you were just feeling bad. I think at this point you were like, I got to give him one. Here we are. Van Jefferson, brother. Don't forget Van Jefferson, who got a 65-yard pass for a touchdown in the preseason that reminded all of us, maybe it was Russell Wilson. Maybe it was Russell Wilson. Appreciate you participating. Appreciate everybody jumping in there as well. That's Overreaction Tuesday. On the other side of this break, we're going to start answering all of your questions. So the super chatters, the members, toss them in the chat. We will be right back. What's up, AST Nation? I've teamed up with DraftKings. The next great touchdown is coming. You can bet on it. And the best way to do so is through DraftKings Sportsbook, where new customers who bet $5 get $300 instantly in bonus bets and $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Football season is finally here, and DraftKings Sportsbook is the place to be. For me, it's all about pregame and live game, making sure I hit every chance I have to stay in on the action. DraftKings Sportsbook is where I do it. New customers who bet $5 get $300 instantly in bonus bets and $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Just sign up using my promo code ALLSTEELERS and get in on the action. DraftKings Sportsbook, where all the touchdowns matter. Shout out to our boys at DraftKings. Let's dive into it. Once again, shout out to our members. Shout out to our super chatters. If you got questions, toss them in the chat. We'll get to all of them before we head out of here. We'll start with our boy, Nate Needs More Salad. Just had ACL surgery today. This is helping, though. A win on Sunday would be nice, too. Also, good luck in fantasy this year. Mr. Auto Drafters, Maddie hit us with the first. Where were you last night, Noah and Jacob? Look at
what?
First
what?
No, it wasn't there. What are you talking about? First, I want to say, Nate, dude, that sucks. But it's I hope you're good. Hope you got lots of TV to watch. Don't watch the Thursday Murders Club. It's just gonna piss you off. I also had I'm a double ACL. So I've had ACL, MCL, and PCL surgery, so I could barely walk at this point in my life. Shout out to lacrosse and football. I was not that good at sports. I just got injured a lot. Hope you're good, brother. Saw it was a rugby accident. Look at what I'll tell you this. I'll give you the worst advice, but the best advice, okay? Or the worst update, but the best advice. At some point, they're gonna have to push your leg to get it to touch your butt during the rehab process when you're in physical therapy. It's gonna be the worst pain you'll ever feel in your life. It sucks. But I'm gonna tell you this. Do it, because I was a little baby and gave up like 3/4 of the way through, and now my leg can never touch my butt. And it it bothers me. You know what I mean? I feel like less of a person because of it. So, we'll
Can't do butt kickers.
can't do butt kickers. Can't do butt kickers.
Dude.
Appreciate you, Nate. Anything we could do, brother, you let us know. Nate, Maddie, everybody else who's yelling at us. Look, we talked all day about how we were fired up for this draft all day long. We had game plans. We were talking Jaylen Warren's contract. We were going through it. I promise you, all we could say is I'm sorry, because I woke up at 7:37 to the ding of my phone saying your draft is completed. And I went, mother. And I texted Jacob and he said, mother. And we realized that we both messed up really bad. I was ready, dude. I was ready. I'll still say this, though. I'm still going to kick everybody's butt this year. I'm fired up for it. It's not even close. Kyler Murray, dude, about to lead me to a Super Bowl. I can't believe. I think it's funnier that I got the worst team of all time in this auto draft, because auto draft's supposed to help you. I don't know if anybody's looked at my team. I'll tell you, for those of you who are not in the league, Kyler Murray, Christian McCaffrey. I think my second running back is Javonte Williams. I'm pretty sure I have Hollywood Brown, who might not even be on the team right now. It's atrocious, dude. Mark Andrews is my tight end. He's not even going to be playing by week 8. Like, it's bad, man. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I'm still going to win, but I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Jacob's got his own excuses, He was just.
Oh yeah, I am just so sorry. I'll find a way to make it out to the league in some way. Maybe I'll get creative with some creative league notes I'll drop in. I'll flex some other muscles. Yeah, I was thinking about it because I feel bad. I'm just an idiot, guys. So I do apologize. But I'm pretty sure I have Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, dude, you lucked out.
So
you got the good
down.
Look at you guys both. You got the good auto draft. I got the bad auto draft. Tortellini Salad apparently has the worst team ever. So apparently your team looks good. So I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. But don't worry. We're back, dude. I've missed 2 fantasy football drafts this year. Both of them auto drafted. I plan to win them both because my actual leagues, not my actual leagues, the leagues that I actually drafted in, I also sucked. So we'll see what happens. Smoothest Buddhist here. Steelers are cooked. I think this was to our overreaction of the Steelers not playing well on defense. He follows it up here with, I actually think the Steelers win 19-16. Wilson and Fields each have 1 touchdown. Brees gets 20 attempts for 65 yards, getting real specific here. Rodgers does just enough to keep the Steelers offense alive. Do the Steelers, that's the one part. We talked all season or all offseason about how Aaron Rodgers was not brought in here to be Superman. You look at the offense, he's probably got to be Superman. Can he be the guy that comes in here and is not the quote-unquote savior, but acts like it when need be for the Steelers?
Maybe a handful of times he can be, but I just think that is like such a recipe for disaster for that to be the expectation on the 41-year-old version of Aaron Rodgers. Like, I think he could go in there and I think he could do it 4 or 5 times, right? Like where like you just need a solid drive that is orchestrated by him. He leads a comeback, things like that. But the other wins, the majority of their wins, it has to come from it being, defensively led, but a whole team effort. I just think any other sort of expectation on a 41-year-old quarterback, even a future Hall of Famer like Aaron Rodgers, is just setting up your team, for disaster, for failure. So I think he can do it a little bit. I don't want that to be the case, though, if that makes sense.
I agree. And I don't think the Steelers want it to be the case. I will say this, though, in the defense of Aaron, Kenny wasn't going to be the guy. Russ wasn't going to be the guy. Mitch wasn't going to be the guy. Justin wasn't going to be the guy. Aaron's the first guy since Ben to be like, if you got to go do this, at least you give us a shot. At least you give the Steelers something. And I think that's I think that's optimistic, that he could eventually, hopefully, pull one out for the Steelers if need be. 19-16 would be pretty much every win the Steelers have had for the last 5 years, which would not be great. YouTube user, honestly, can we really call Pittsburgh the city of champions? Been a long, long time. I mean, like yes and no, but you look at everything, and like every city goes through that's what just happens. You go through the ebbs and flows. Like Boston was the city of champions forever. Now they're on the down. Kansas City was on the up. Now maybe we'll see what happens, this season. I think it's been a while for the city of champions, but when it was dubbed the city of champions, it was the city of champions. And it was strongly carried by the Penguins, but Penguins did some stuff, and it has been a while for sure. But I still think the Steelers have, Pirates eventually, right? One time, maybe ever. I don't know.
Yeah,
probably not.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean that. It's funny. I think that's like the Yinzer in me totally coming out, because that's just like a term that I heard in the early 2000s, like growing up, because I was raised by a bunch of people who watched the 70s of Pittsburgh sports,
Yes.
where like they called themselves the city of champions during that. But yeah, like when I was a kid, like when Noah and I were growing up, like yeah, Boston was winning. They were breaking their curse. They were doing all that stuff. The Celtics were coming along a couple of years later, and the Celtics. I don't follow basketball that well, but I know the Celtics
They won
an
a couple
NBA
of years ago.
championship. Yeah, recently-ish. So yeah, so it's been a little bit for Pittsburgh, but the championship like sentiment and the standard of the championship like winning culture, I think persists and is consistent regardless of the actual era and wins or losses that are happening with the Pittsburgh sports teams. City champions for life.
For life. I agree. I think it's if it goes another 20 years, we got a conversation to have. But for right now, I think we're still in the midst of like in the last 10 years, the Penguins have kept this thing alive, and you got a couple more years to go with it. Smoothest Buddhist once again praying for the guy. Oh, for good old Nate Moore, baby, with the ACL surgery. Former high school running back here, tore ACL, MCL. Hey, shout out, dude. I did the same thing, but as a tight end, which is the least glorified position to tear all of those things, because I'm a little baby. Wishing a speedy recovery, as we all are, my man. Nate, wishing you nothing but the best. We will be here every Tuesday and Thursday and Monday mornings to make sure that we bring you plenty to watch from the couch. And again, dude, get the TVs going. You got college. That's the best part. This is the best time to have, got to stay on the couch surgery, because you got football all the time. Like could you imagine doing that in like February? Oh, God. Life would stink. You know what I mean? Life would be. Speaking of surgeries, did you see that Tyrese Halliburton proposed to his fiance with like after Achilles surgery? So he had to like practice getting down on a knee, and then he couldn't get back up after he did it. That's a dedicated man. I probably would have just waited a couple of weeks. I think I would have just been like, we could just put this one off just a couple of times.
Feels like a natural progression in the recovery process would be him bending his knee again, right? And like, all of the other parts of that, exploring how the muscle groups work down there. So I have to think he could have probably done this next month. Maybe not have struggled, but everybody has what love. It makes you do crazy things. You and I both know that, and all of our in love / married friends in the chat probably do as well. So, yep. Good for you, Tyrese. That's great. I wish
shout out
your leg keeps healing, brother.
That's what I'm saying. Everybody makes their decisions. Some people make weird ones. And Tyrese Halliburton, I mean, congratulations to the lovely couple.
Congratulations.
Ryan, chances we score an opening drive touchdown. It's been a long time. A long, long time. I thought I was getting a 4.
Oh, no,
0. You're saying 0. 0.
Yeah, fade me if you would like on DraftKings, but using Noah's code. But no chance in my mind at all. I think it might even look good. I think they might have a good drive, maybe a field goal even. I concede. No chance they get an opening drive touchdown this week.
Wow. I don't think my expectations are very high either. The Steelers are a slow start team. And the fact that you haven't played together in ever is certainly something to, kind of dawn on a little bit. If they do, though, if they pull this, what's the hype meter go to 0 to 100 instantly? You know what I mean? Steelers get the ball first because Mike T would do something like that. He'd be like, "Oh, we're receiving. Put Aaron on the field." And then opening drive touchdown to start this season off. It's at a 0. Where does it go to? Immediately. Instant hype reaction.
On a scale of 100, I go to like 91 immediately. I get overreaction happy immediately. Like it is, if Aaron Rodgers can lead an opening drive touchdown, I will feel like this team has an actual chance to win the Super Bowl. How about that?
Yeah. Oof. Wow.
That's how little faith I have that it will happen. But
okay,
I'll eat my words if true. You can hold me to it.
See it. Would love to see it. Cody Silva here. Fantasy team. What are we even doing? Me is going to start. Is going to get all of you every time I beat someone. You have to shotgun a beer. Every time I lose, I will buy someone a membership. Shout out Noah and Jacob for the draft. Shout out Maddie for the draft for putting that thing together for sure. Next time we'll be involved in that. I also want to make it known that we will have the link to the members Pick'em League. Probably tomorrow morning. I'll post it bright and early, right when the podcast goes out, so everybody can sign that. And then we'll continue to plug it on every show and every live stream throughout the week so that everybody can get involved. But make sure that you guys, if you are a member, join in that one. Every time you beat somebody, you have to shot. Could you imagine a Tuesday morning shotgun beer, dude? My wife would be pissed. What are you doing? Lost to fantasy football. Lost to Cody, brother. Lost to Cody. Got a shotgun on a Tuesday. I think it would be awesome. I think it'd be hilarious. I know probably 100 sports writers that would be like, yeah, that would be, I'm in. And I would probably put myself on that list, if we're going to be honest. Shout out. Steelers Nation. Why does everyone keep saying we should have kept George Pickens when he didn't want to be here and wasn't going to play? I don't disagree. I'm all in on. I know my overreaction was, it's not going to be good, but I don't think the Steelers should have kept George Pickens. I don't think it would have worked out in their favor. I think there would have been some drama. I think they got rid of him at the right time. And I also think his value across the league was low because everybody knew his reputation was bad. And I think, the Steelers made the right call to kind of move on.
Yeah, I think there is two things can be true at the same time regarding the Steelers wide receiver room. Like, having George Pickens here would probably be more of a headache than worth the on-field production. It's also true that this team has a serious hole at the position until proven otherwise. So I like, if Pickens comes back and he is not the sort of off-field distraction that he has been the first few years in the NFL, then great. You have problem solved, no issues whatsoever. But that is just simply not the reality with George Pickens. So, I don't think either of us are really, pounding the table for him to have stayed. I just think it has been a small part of what has led to this issue now, which is they don't have a bona fide number 2 wide receiver going into week 1. So, I don't really know what the best solution is at this point, but they've certainly put themselves into a corner with it.
Yeah, I agree. That's the best way to put it. They've put themselves into a place where it's like, it's kind of a lose-lose. They were in a lose-lose situation, but I don't think George being here would have done anything but cause problems. And if it didn't cause problems today, it would cause problems eventually, because that just seemed to be the thing. And he lost the locker room. And once you do that, once you lose your teammates, it's time to go, and that's what was happening with George Pickens. Ernie, do you guys think Sebastian Castro will be on the roster next year? Because I like the guy. I kind of like the guy too. I would not be surprised if Sebastian sticks around and the Steelers want to see what he can develop into. I think he's got a lot of Miles Killebrew potential in him. Really hard hitter, good special teamer. I don't know if he's like a defensive, going to be a star one day guy, but I do think he's got like that potential to be a leader and somebody who could come in here and make a small impact as a depth guy. And I like his potential, Yep.
And I think next year, specifically going off of Ernie's question here, there is going to be several positions in the safety group up for grabs. It's not a sure thing what will happen with Juan Thornhill. Chuck Clark is probably a 1-year stopgap as a depth piece. So, there's there's a couple of positions here that could open up and that could lead to Sebastian Castro being a permanent member of the Steelers next year. But I think for an undrafted guy, he did, a lot of impressive things over training camp in the preseason. And I think he's earned, staying on the practice squad and staying on the Steelers radar for 25 moving into 26. So yeah, I mostly agree with you there, Ernie.
Yeah, I agree. Lindsay here to follow up on the George Pickens. Could have just drafted a wide receiver. I'm not hearing they didn't know about trading George Pickens or his attitude. So my understanding, and I'm going to ask you a question at the end of this. I just want to explain it. Like, my understanding is that the Steelers had plans to trade him during the draft. They didn't get an offer during the draft. Their best offer was like a 4th or a 5th round pick from the Cowboys. They weren't willing to do that. They said, okay, George is going to be our guy. And then right after the draft, the Cowboys are like, all right, screw it, we'll give you a 3rd. Do you think the Steelers should have still kind of prepared themselves for that to happen? Or do you think that was a miss on their part?
I think it was a miss on their part, especially like even with your sort of like a helpful explanation. Like I think if you have the understanding at any point that you are going to be moving on from this player, I'm not sure why you aren't making preparations to replace him in some sort of way. Again, Mike Tomlin sings the praises and confidence of Roman Wilson and Calvin Austin, and I think if asked the question in a sort of media setting, that's the answer. Like, you move on because you have these other guys that you want to see develop. But I think it was just overall a miss on improving the personnel heading into this season. Like, why, especially when you say you acquired another starting tight end when you already had a starting tight end, and you did it in the name of improving the offense and being an all-in Super Bowl team, why not would you then be as aggressive as consistently pursuing a wide receiver to match your $30 million starting wide receiver on the opposite side? I just think you could, you opened up the door of being aggressive, of being all in. And then when it stops short of, well, we actually don't need a wide receiver too, because we have 2 guys who have a combined 40 catches and they're all from one of those guys, that it doesn't add up. It's the same way we'll see, and then practicing are just like totally opposite things. You can't say like, oh, we're all in, and then be like, well, we have 2 guys who have really not done much, but we believe in them just because it just doesn't make a lot of it doesn't make a lot of sense.
No, I agree. I think that you should have at least game planned in some way and not just winged it, which I felt like the Steelers did with this. Tortellini salad. No, I'll give you CJ Stroud or Matthew Stafford for Puka Nacua. I'm going to answer this one with the hell no, brother. Matthew Stafford might not even have a back right now, and CJ Stroud has the worst offensive line in the NFL. Can't do it. But I hear you, and I like it. I like that the trade negotiations are already starting. This is how you win a Super Bowl. This is how this kid's going to win a Super Bowl. Eddie the First. Afternoon, fellas. Maybe I missed it, but are we using the franchise tag on anybody? No, the Steelers are not using the franchise tag this year. They're pretty anti franchise tag for the most part. If they need to use it, they will, but they try really hard to not use it. This year, they are not using the franchise tag. And Michelle, did I hear right? Gabe Davis got picked up by the Bills. He did, in the least shocking news in the NFL, because anybody who thought he wasn't going to go to the Bills, I don't know why you thought that. So he's in Buffalo. The Pittsburgh Steelers are left hanging. We'll see what happens. Nate Moore, are we still expecting the defense to finish top 5? Could they be number 1? Could the Steelers have I know your answer here. No, I actually don't know your answer here. It might be bigger than this. Your 1 to 10 shot, the Steelers finish first in the NFL on defense.
Real answer, 1 out of 10. I don't think
Really?
they will be the top defense in the NFL. I think they'll be a top 5 defense. I think I've been one of the people who's been kind of banging the drum on that. Like, this is a great defensive unit, the second most expensive defensive unit in the NFL now. Thank you very much. But I think they will be a top 5 unit. I think they can challenge in a lot of ways for the number 1 spot, but I think they will unequivocally not be the number 1 defense in the NFL. So for those reasons, I think I got to give it a 1 out of 10. Wanted to give the fans what they wanted with a 4 out of 10, but I just simply could not, while sticking honest and staying true to my heart.
Who's your team that you're like, there's no chance they're going to beat them?
I don't even know if I have an answer to that, to be quite honest. I think the Steelers are probably going to beat themselves in that regard.
Oh, okay. I like that. I do think that depth becomes an issue. I think that the defensive line is only so deep, like Y.E. Black is impressive. Daniel Ikuwale is a good vet, but like there's no stardom behind their starters there. I think corner is the same way. I think safety is definitely the same way. So I hear you there. I think if everybody stays healthy, there's an opportunity for it. But they got to stay healthy, and that is the hardest thing to do in the NFL is to stay healthy. But their front unit, I think, could compete for number one spot in the NFL. Maddie here. Why are we so down on the wide receivers? I'm curiously I don't want to say curiously optimistic. I'm not optimistic. I'm curious about the Steelers wide receivers. I just think that, in the grand scheme of things, you look around the league, the Steelers wide receiver core is not an impressive one compared to a lot of other teams, especially playoff teams. You could, if we run through them just in the AFC, last year you had LA, who Keenan Allen and they just drafted Lad McConkey. Thank you. Pretty good 1-2 punch there. Did Houston make the playoffs last year? Houston with Tank Dell and Nico Collins and Christian Kirk's pretty impressive. Who else made the playoffs? Denver's wide receiver core, Cortland Sutton and Marvin Mims, I think are so underrated, and Troy Franklin. The Chiefs loaded to the gills here. Baltimore's got Rashad and Zay Flowers and DeAndre Hopkins now. Who else am I missing? Buffalo's got Keon Coleman, and Khalil Shakur, and they just picked up Josh Palmer. It just feels like in the grand scheme of like where everybody else is, the Steelers are a little bit unimpressive. That's my only thing is like they could come out here and ball out, and I'd be super pumped if they did. But I mean, and when having conversations, you can't just like, it's wrong to say they're going to be awesome without any proof. You know what I mean? It's just, you're not doing anybody's service by doing something like that, I feel.
Yeah, I just think that proceeding cautiously is the only real way forward here until they prove otherwise. Like I don't think Noah or myself are shutting the door on Calvin Austin or Roman Wilson surprising the Steelers or ourselves, the NFL. Like they certainly could. Like you see these glimpses of it in training camp, in the preseason, in these practices. Like there's certainly been moments where you think that could be possible. You just can't change the fact that there is no statistical production to back that up. So until that changes, like I can't feign optimism. I am not the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers in my ability to feign confidence.
Yeah, I agree. Steelers, a nation here. DK 4.3340. Calvin 4.32, which is really like a 4.2. Roman 4.3940s. Let them boy rip DBs, can't cover them at all. Speed wise, yeah, they got everybody covered. And if they want to run go balls all day, awesome. It would be sick. And we'll see. You know what I mean? I would love it. I would absolutely love for these guys to be ridiculous. And if they could all beat guys deep, sick. That'd be so much fun to watch. And we'll see what happens. We will definitely see what happens in the grand scheme of things. Nate needs more salad. Overreaction Tuesday. The Steelers will not acquire another wide receiver at all this season. Wide receiver 2 will not be utilized enough this season for them to feel the need to cover one. Calvin Austin and Roman are fine. I'm going to say that's not an overreaction. I think that right now the Steelers' game plan is to say, and Mike Tomlin laid it out for us, everybody else cook, and we'll see what happens. And again, I think dink and dunk football is fine if you can make it work. We'll see if we make. I'm not going to say this is an overreaction.
No, I think unfortunately it is not an overreaction from our recent surgical consult over here. Mr. Nate needs more salad, but I think what is really just like tripping me up still in all of this is like I just don't agree that those two players are going to fill the vacuum of wide receiver 2. It seems like all of the hope from Tomlin is that Jonnu Smith will help fill that void, and that is that gives me even less confidence, to be quite honest, than saying we're putting all of our eggs in the basket of Calvin Austin III and Roman Wilson. To say
Agreed.
we're going to get a little bit from them, we're going to get a little bit from Jonnu Smith, we're going to get a little bit from Pat Freiermuth, I just think is like, not going to work. So I want to be wrong, but I don't think I'm going to be.
I agree. Cody Silva, who do you guys think will catch more passes, Ladd McConkey or DK Metcalf? That's a good one, to be honest. I'd go DK. I think DK is going to catch 7 million passes from Aaron Rodgers. Like, I just think at some point it's just going to be Aaron Rodgers drops back and looks at DK Metcalf, and that is what's happening. So I would go. I also like Justin Herbert, but I'm not like sold on Justin Herbert yet. I'm really not. So I'm going DK. I think DK might catch 100 passes this year, 150. It might be crazy.
They both got probably equal targets. Looks like DK had 108 targets. Ladd had 112. And Ladd had a few more receptions on those targets. It's going to be a close call, but yeah, I mean, just going off of Mike Tomlin's words alone, like when all else fails, the ball goes through DK Metcalf is the sense that I'm getting from the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. So that could mean he's going to be targeted 115 plus times, throughout the season. I think he is going to be the safety blanket, the number one option, the fail safe, all of those things sort of wrapped up into one. And I think that means that DK Metcalf is going to get a ton of receptions. Will that translate into these meaningful 1,300 yard, 15 touchdown season? Who knows? But he's going to see a ton of action his way.
Yeah, agreed. Nicholas, I don't know how much you guys watch college football or watch colleges, but I think Steelers fans should keep a lookout on Sam Levitt. He's my favorite QB in the draft. Thoughts? He was Jacob's sleeper in yesterday's episode for the guy that impressed. Now, you play Northern Illinois or wherever he played. You got to take that into account. It's the Drew Aller hype of like, Drew Aller's awesome against Nevada. How good is he against Ohio State? But this dude did look like a stud. He easily climbed up the board to like be a guy to watch for sure. I think the big takeaway from yesterday was like he looked great. John Mateer looked great. Lenora Sellers looked great. Like there were guys. Garrett Nussmeier looked great. It was a good day for college football for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But this was your dude yesterday.
Yeah, he kind of came out of nowhere against Northern Arizona University.
Northern Arizona, that's what it was.
Very, very unimpressive, but there were lots of things to like from pretty much all of, with some exceptions, but a vast majority of the first and early second round projected quarterbacks in next year's class. A lot of them had really nice days. Arch Manning and Cade Klubnik, probably the large outliers there of that group. But Sam Levitt, love it, gotta have it, however you're supposed to say his last name. I still don't know, and I apologize, but he looked like a player who I wouldn't be surprised if he is suddenly shot into the first round mock drafts this week and going forward based off of that performance. And the Arizona State offense seems like it is exclusively going to showcase the arm and running talent of him. So we'll see how much he stays on the radar of the Steelers, but he's certainly forced his way into the conversation of like who are those top elite quarterbacks in the NCAA right now.
Agreed. Maddie, I think DK is going to cook and burn Sauce Gardner. Look I don't know if you meant to do that, but that's hilarious. Agree. I think that's going to be one hell of a matchup. And I'm excited to see it. I think it's a great first test to see how good DK actually is and how good that passing game actually is in Sauce. I'm not going to predict that he burns him, to be honest. I think it's going to be one hell of a matchup, and I'm excited to I think I'm excited to see what's going on, to see what happens. All right, let's finish it off with good old Nate Moore one more time. Does the Jaylen Warren extension mean that they are not liking what they're seeing from Caleb Johnson? No, and we talked about this yesterday in the podcast, or this morning in the podcast, actually. It just means that the Steelers have two guys that they want for the future. The Steelers are always going to be a committee running back for the next couple of years because that's what they want to have. Also, Caleb is not a 3-down running back. he can't catch the football very well, and he can't pass block almost at all. So until he could do both of those things, you can't put him on the field on third down. And Jalen is a great third down running back. So I still think the outlook is the same. But I do think that the Steelers are just planning for the future before Jalen kind of makes himself a little bit more expensive.
Yeah, well put. I think they're locking in their known assets while also just sort of like giving more space for Caleb Johnson to have those failures that a rookie is going to have, and to let him just sort of take more of his time gaining a larger role, which could happen very quickly, but it might take a little bit longer than, the third round draft pick label kind of placed on him going into this year. So just a little bit of extra security and a little bit of safety measures here, but nothing to worry about as far as Caleb Johnson's long-term outlook.
I agree. All right, y'all. With that said, we're heading out of here. Thank you guys so much for jumping on to another episode of the AST Happy Hour. Shout out to our members and to our super chatters. And once again, we apologize for the auto draft, but we're still going to go in there and see what we can do by the end of the season. If you want to become a member, do so by hitting the description in the link below, or hitting the link in the description below. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcast. And as always, find all of our work at si.com/NFL. And with that said, enjoy another beautiful day in the Berg.